I'm masking off the block to paint it. You can see I've cleaned off the gasket surfaces here, but if you recall, these gasket surfaces are not completely covered by gaskets. So I'm going to want to get some paint in this little V area here. Likewise with the cap that covers what would have been a fuel pump. They don't do it like that anymore. You have electric fuel pumps, so you have a little patch that goes over this right here. So what I've done is I put some tape down on there, marked where the holes go, and laid the flange over the top of it, and I've scribed it with a razor blade around the edge, and so you can see it's been scribed around the edge here. So with any luck, should be able to pull this tape off and get a perfect match for well, close enough. Close match. There we go. It's coming back. That's just the overflow from the two pieces of tape, one over the top of the other. Anyway, so the idea here is that some of this flat surface is going to get paint on it, and some of it is going to have a gasket surface on there. And by etching it like that, we should get a really good marriage between the two. Here you go. So rinse and repeat with these other ones here, and we'll figure out exactly what the gasket surface is and what surface is going to be taped. And when we get ready to spray over that, we're going to paint this gray, and the accoutrement will all be black, and it will look nice and sharp, I think. Now this black paint that you see on here, that's from the engine shop. They when they machined the flat surface and reboard the cylinders, they put some black paint on here just to keep it from rusting after they did their dip, their washing process. So I'm just going to call that primer. I'm not going to take that paint off. So we'll just continue along. You can see on the back side here, I put a paper cap over the top, and I've taped off the edges here. Run along the edge here with a razor blade, the same way that I'm running the edges on the other gasket surfaces, and that should give me a really good tape mark. So everything will have nice coating of paint. This is flat surface would be a whole lot easier. I'm just going to take some brake free and on a rag and clean this off so it's nice and clean. We get some good adherence from the tape, and we'll just tape it off and then razor the edges. That will be really good, especially in this area where we'll just run a piece of tape across here and cut the edges, and then when we paint it, we'll have a nice cover of gray paint in here. I think that may not be visible when we put the cap on, but you know what? It's going to be covered, and that will give it the protection that it needs. That's really what the paint is for. So I'll check back in once I get the other side and when I get the top all taped off before we get to paint. All right, so you might think, how am I going to be able to get the coverage when these things go in, right? And you set them in place. Well, what I've done here is I've been able to mark the outside edge of that corner, and now I just run some tape in there, and I have a good surface for it to adhere to. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up the holes now, but at least now I know what the bearing surfaces are and what areas are going to be painted and what areas are not. All right, so that's this side done. Not a lot of complicated stuff. I decided I don't want to paint the freeze plugs, so we're going to leave those shiny. Actually, they were black, but when I cleaned them off with brake free, the black paint came off of that. So we're going to leave those shiny. And the only thing I have left to do now is to block off these the front surfaces and tape off the mechanism of my engine stand so that I guess I got to do the back too. But this part back here gets painted. So anyway, and then I'll be able to get started painting. All right, all taped up and ready to go. Got some drop cloth. Everything's taped up. That's all the shapes. So nice. I'm gonna get all those little spots that you won't be able to see, but they'll be all covered with paint and protected. You see right here, I was able to get the right shape for that gasket size so that we know what's going to be painted and what's not going to be painted. All the critical components are all, and even got the car there all covered up so that we don't get overspray. So let's get this thing gray. Quick little note, one of the most important things with getting paint to stick is to make sure it's clean and oil free. And the way you do that is with brake cleaner. Now, obviously I have some things on here that needs to remain oiled, so I didn't want to just spray the brake cleaner on there. So what I've been doing is spraying brake cleaner into this rag and then wiping it down with that. And that's enough to break away any oil and give them a nice clean surface. So just FYI, make sure before you paint it, you've cleaned it off. There's no rust, there's no grease, there's nothing that would inhibit the paint from sticking onto the engine block. All right, okay, first coat in. The trick with this is to make sure you don't get any drips or anything is to do light coats. That's the first coat. The other thing that you need to keep in mind when you're doing, painting irregular shapes is to spray into different directions because there's a lot of odd shapes in here. For instance, right down in here and whatnot, back up in here. But that's exactly the color I was hoping for. That'll look really good against the black from all the caps and stuff, and the polished aluminum that we're going to put on the top. All right, there you go. All painted up, got 2 coats on it. I really like this color. This is Duplicolor ceramic engine, and it's part number DE1611, New Ford Gray. This color looks really good with, I'm going to have these aluminum intake manifold on the other side. And then on this side here, we'll have all these black caps. Anything that is, an accessory is going to have a black paint on it. So that color complements both the aluminum and the black. And I think it's going to look really good. See, it came out really good. I don't have any drips or anything. 2 light coats. Really good coverage. All the tape's off. Everything came off nicely. Oops, I didn't take the tape off of this, off the dipstick. It looks really good with the black on the gray like that. And again, anything that's black, contrasting on the gray, will really pop out. I really like the way those freeze plugs look too with the shiny silver. All right, cool. So next thing up, I'm going to do the oil pan install. There's some interesting gaskets on that one. Stay tuned.